Having said that, I'm not sure that it's lunchtime in India. I've learnt from my time in India that lunchtime is around 2 o'clock. It's not like midday, like in Melbourne, Australia. It's around 2 o'clock. Am I right?
Yes.
2 o'clock.
Well, it's a lunchtime which your boss allows you to have lunch actually. So it could be from
If you're
12
allowed to have
p.m.
lunch,
to
it's
2
a good
p.m.
point, Sachin. It's a very good point. Yeah. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Sonam, nice to see you.
Hi, Ren. Nice to see you too. Hope you're doing well.
I cannot complain. I cannot complain. Thank you for asking.
It's quite hot here in India. You left at a good time. It's 52
So
degrees Celsius.
I've heard. We were just saying before, Winston was saying it was 52 degrees in Gurgaon.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. That's like an engine room.
I just don't think you can't even like get your head around that.
Well, there's no option. It's a matter of 2 more months, then I think it'll be better in India then.
And even I was told, and I don't know if this is true, that in June, if the rains come, it tends to give a little bit of relief. I don't know if that's true. I've never been in June. I've certainly been in August, and I remember it being very, very muggy in August.
Yeah, actually July, August, it'll be rainy seasons, and then you'll have a lot of humidity. So till September, humidity is going to be there, and October onwards, it's going to be better.
Rightio. Yeah, someone said to me, only come to India between the months of November and February. I said, that's impossible. That's impossible.
Weather-wise, that's the right time.
Yeah, but only if you want to be in India 3 months of the year, which is not what I want. So yeah, definitely. All right, we've got people slowly joining. We might give it a couple more minutes and then we will get started on our workshop. I wanted to have mood music from Spotify. Sachin and he was warning me about appropriate mood music. He finds my music taste questionable. But my Spotify is not working on my computer, which was annoying.
I think your music taste is what is the popular. So you can't go.
Thanks.
Yeah.
This is coming from someone who's into heavy metal. Sachin told me he's into heavy metal music. So I'm not a heavy metal music person. And given that we've cut up the dance floor in the Monkey Bar in Delhi, Jasmine, I think you've
Yes.
seen my music taste.
Yes. And the Hard Rock Cafe in Bangalore.
Oh my goodness.
Was
In
it
Bangalore,
Bangalore?
that was so much fun. That was fantastic.
Good.
Yes, some beautiful memories already made, and I plan to make more. So anyway, I think we might get started, and we can, people can basically catch up as they join. But welcome everyone to our Lunch and Learn session. Today is all around, I guess it's an introductory session to Maxme. Some on the call have already met us in some capacity, others haven't, and are sort of, I guess, checking in with us for the first time. But we are getting quite a lot of great feedback and traction from these sessions. We've held one in Australia, and this is our first one in India. So we just want to give people a sense of who we are, what we do, and certainly, you know, the change and the impact we're trying to make into the global world around us. So as you can see, Maxme is already working with a number of large brands across the globe, and you know we're very, very proud of the work that we're doing with the clients that we are working with. Deloitte is a very large client. We run 1,600 senior consultants through an upskilling program on a yearly basis, and we are also working with PwC. We're working with, we've done work for the Australian Catholic University. We're a partner of the Australian Computer Society. And also we have launched our footprint in India as well. We've run some work with T-Hub. They're one of our partners, and we've recently signed on to do some work with RateGain and a couple of other customers that actually today have confirmed that we'll be going ahead with work with them. Some big names, actually. So it's very, very exciting where we're headed. So in terms of today, what we want to cover in 45 minutes, not a long time, but certainly what we wanted to cover with you is, why Maxme? Why do we exist, I guess, and what are we looking to achieve? Really talk to you about this human skill gap that exists in the age of AI and what that actually means. Certainly what the Maxme learning experience looks like at a high level, how we manage things like reporting and insights. We think that's really important for a learner to have that ongoing visibility and insight, and also for their leaders when we're running B2B programs, and then give you a chance to ask some questions and give you an opportunity to know what next steps might look like with us. So I wish that I had $1 for every time I heard the word AI or Gen AI being mentioned. There seems to be a global craze, like it's actually bordering on hysteria in terms of, what is AI and what is it going to do? And can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
But you can't see my deck, can you? I'm going to have to open it again. I'm not sure what happened. Spotify must have just heard me saying how disappointed I was with it, that my music didn't work. Right, back to you. So, the age of AI has very much arrived, but, reality is this, that technology is only as powerful as the humans that choose to do something amazing with it. And technology will never, ever be able to take the place. Well, when I say never, ever, I've said never, ever a couple of times over the last decade. I'll take that back. Perhaps in the next 100 to 200 years, we will be able to find a way that technology can actually synthetically mimic emotions and what humans do best. But until such time as that happens, and I'm pretty confident it's certainly not going to happen in the next decade or two, humans will have a unique set of skills that they can bring to bear in the workplace that technology will never be able to take the place of. And it's interesting that, we're getting quite a lot of, confirmation from the market. It's that it's not AI that are going to, that's going to take the jobs of people. It's going to be the people who can actually implement AI in a uniquely human way that will take the jobs of people who can't do that. So we talk a lot about this phenomena of AI and what is the role of humans in that world. We've also, way before the madness of AI, we did quite a lot of market research. We've been in market for about 4 years now. And before we really got going in an earnest way, we went out and spoke to a lot of business leaders across the globe, and we did, we commissioned market research. And this was the feedback that came back. The things that are really important to business leaders in the context of the work, that they're leading and the organizations that they're in is the people need to have self-awareness. They're people, if they're lacking self-awareness and that self-management, it's a real problem. They also think that effective communication is super important, particularly when it comes to working with peers, with customers, and that kind of collaborative work that needs to happen in the workplace. Certainly creative problem solving in those complex work environments that we all find ourselves in. Managing mindset, stress, not all stress is bad, and stress is here to stay, right? So what does it look like to actually lean into and effectively manage that stress and make the most of it? Healthy working relationships, there's a lot of, conversation around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how that's not really coming to life as rapidly as required or that needs to be in terms of healthy working environments. Certainly working effectively with others in collaborative work, and also this sort of digital acumen and the readiness for the working world. So all of these things are things that came to us through the research that we did, and the certainly, double down through the conversations that we're having with clients worldwide. These are really, really important skills to have for the working world. And the reality is this, what we sort of thought was success through our school years, being at high school or in tertiary, you know, life is not linear like we thought that it was. It's not as easy as learning something, you know, getting the certificate for the subject, and I'm home and host. And, you know, we speak to a lot of young people in the workplace, people who are starting out, and they're saying, gosh, we thought that we left university and school with all the skills that we needed, and, you know, our high achievement is going to set us up for really strong success in the workplace. And then they realize, and in fact 75% of them tell us that they realize that they don't have the skills that they actually need day one, week one, month one, these human skills, these soft skills. And it really starts to burn as they start to navigate the working world. And post-COVID and in these hybrid work environments, it's even worse. It's more exacerbated. So Daniel Goleman wrote, you know, about this phenomena of emotional intelligence, and basically, you know, that if you don't have that emotional intelligence, if you can't lead with empathy, build great relationships, have that self-awareness, it actually doesn't matter what your IQ is or how smart you are. You're actually not going to get very far. So really importantly, you know, how do we give people these skills so that they can be successful? We wanted to bring some data out of the, you know, some really relevant data, and out of, you know, and more relevant to the India market. And, you know, the vast sentiment of those that I'm talking to is, you know, to get your arms around AI and to make the most out of AI from a working world and a sort of the productivity and the efficiency that everyone's talking about. Actually, it's not about bringing more tech partners into your, you know, into your organization. It's actually about how do you upskill and equip your people to be part of the solution. Let's start to really stop the, you know, the anxiety that is not productive and actually impacts on productivity and leads to disconnection. How do we upskill and harness the capability of our people to actually be part of the solution? PwC reported in a report last year that, you know, 60% of employees are saying that they know that their jobs are going to undergo significant change in the next 5-10 years. They're talking already about these sort of human skills being the skills that they need: adaptability, collaboration, critical thinking, leadership. You know, they're all terms that basically are interchangeable for the emotional intelligence suite of skills, and also, of course, human skills. And, you know, we are seeing quite high levels of attrition. I know that India as a market does see, you know, high levels of attrition than other countries, but actually even for India, we're seeing sort of that 8% growth year on year of attrition, people leaving roles and moving around. And the question is, at what cost? And, you know, I've got a slide later on that they've put a cost to attrition to each organization. It's actually, it really, really bites. And, you know, there is quite a lot of research that says that if you can upskill people and give them a reason to stay, then they will. Because, you know, on the right-hand side, you're seeing that a Forrester report is basically saying that, you know, on average, 3/4 of workers in India are reporting low levels of well-being. They're just as stressed and dissatisfied, and they're not thriving at work, just like their, you know, counterparts in other countries. And so, you know, you've got this melting pot of people who are not feeling great about their work. They're not feeling a level of career progression and upskilling. And so, of course, they're thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. So we talked about this human skill gap, particularly in the age of AI. And why does it exist? Because current upskilling programs they really don't work. And it's sort of, I guess, twofold. First of all, traditional education pathways don't actually give this level of upskilling. We tend to over-index on technical skill development, and the sort of softer skills, the human skills, which, I mean, some people think can't be taught, which is not true. They're not favoured in you know, traditional education pathways. So we're not getting those skills before we enter the workforce. And even when we are entering the workforce, only about 10% of people in the workforce get the upskilling that they need. They're leaders, they might be on a talent program. For the bulk of people in an organization, the best that happens is there might be a Coursera license, there might be something that their managers kind of tell them to go and read, or, you know, maybe they get sent on a, you know, on a 2-day conference, and they feel, you know, there's a feeling that that's the upskilling that's going to happen. That actually doesn't even touch the surface of the change and the upskilling that's required. So that's why there's a skill gap. That's why human skills don't exist as they need to. That's why the world is on average quite low in its emotional intelligence, particularly in the modern workplace. And as you can see via the schematic there, actually these skills are going to be needed more, not less, in the age of AI. McKinsey reports that about 70% or 43 out of 56 of those foundational skills that citizens are going to need are these soft skills. We know that 2/3, according to Deloitte, that 2/3 of all jobs by 2030 will be soft skill intensive. And we know that, 58% of our actual performance in a job relies on this sort of EQ family of skills. So we know that they're not there, and it sort of explains a lot as we start to think about where workplaces are at the moment and where they need to go to really rapidly change as the world around them changes. And as I said to you before, they've put some numbers to the actual lack of this upskilling. So on average, the researchers found that an organization will spend about $1.1 million USD in replacing regrettable attrition. These are people that are on your talent pipeline that you can't afford to leave. They leave you and you've got to replace them. So on average, an organization spends about that much a year on replacing people that could have been retained. And globally, about $42 billion is, the opportunity cost of the lack of productivity and lack of engagement, because these skills, they don't exist. And then the productivity that happens when they do, basically, it's not happening for organizations. So Maxme, what are we in the market to do? As I mentioned before, we're already working with a lot of clients, and Maxme has basically brought to the market a solution that really starts to lean into our vision, and that is we want to equip career dreamers, and that's our fun name for people who haven't started in their career yet and are just dreaming about what a career could look like for them and what all of their hard work, up until the moment they get a job, how can they be rewarded for all that hard work? Career beginners who are at the start of their career and kind of don't know better and just are in sort of sponge mode. The career movers who are really looking to move around, doesn't mean moving out of an organization, but moving around. And those people that are really thinking about career advancement and really putting themselves on that track of sometimes rapid advancement. We want to equip all of these demographics with the critical skills so that they can thrive in work and also in life. How do we do that? Well, we actually bring together a curated learning experience, which triangulates the best of all learning worlds. So when it comes to, more traditional training, obviously, we've all been through those training courses. You're sitting in a room, sometimes it's for a week, and, a lot of information is sort of downloaded on you, but we like those, human to human learning experiences. We love working in groups. So there's real pros and cons of the more traditional learning. We bring some of that in our experience, but we really want to democratize and we want to gamify. We know people love learning in that way. We know that humans love to learn and have some fun along the way. So we definitely bring that to bear in our experience. And then really importantly, it's got to be for a high value price, something that you're not paying a huge amount for, but getting a lot of outcome from. So here we are. This is what we offer. We have an app in market. We describe ourselves as the Duolingo for human skill development. So for those that have used Duolingo, it's basically, a golden standard of app learning experience. And around that, we wrap around a number of touch points, which are really critical for that gamification, for that sort of group training, community building feel that we know people love to be a part of. And we sort of make sure that it's in the palm of your hand at all times as well. That 24/7 lifelong learning, whenever I need it, it's there, bite-sized, and it sort of builds over time. We know that learning experience is really delivering great results for our clients. And so we're really excited to share that with you today. We focus on 6 core areas. Now, there's many parts of the experience. Obviously, we double down on these, and there's other manifestations of these, but this is where we start. 6 core areas where the human skills happen. And if you can nail these 6 areas, you're probably well on your way to that emotional, intelligence nirvana that we're all working towards. Self-awareness is where we start. And we've had a lot of feedback that self-awareness is missing, and when it's missing, it gets pretty ugly in terms of workplaces and when people have to work together to achieve great results. We also focus and double down on communication. It's the most basic thing that we do from the moment we're born to the moment that we die. And ineffective communication really leads to troublesome outcomes, whereby you're either not saying what needs to get said, or you don't know how to say it. You don't have that, self-awareness. You're not communicating effectively, and, things tend to spiral downwards from there. Creativity or creative problem solving, agile ways of working, failing fast, working in complex environments, that is a skill set that is quite low in the average person, and we really look to bolster that skill set with the clients that we're working with, should that be the area where they want us to focus. Working together, high-performing teams, collaboration. The more complex our work environments are getting, the more likely we're going to need to solve problems together. They're going to be too complex for us to work on our own. But you'd be surprised, or maybe you won't be, just how few people know how to work really well together in high-performing teams and getting the most out of one another. Mindfulness is important, not from the perspective of, I guess, a little bit from the perspective of looking after yourself, looking after your body, your mind, your spirit, but also around how do you actually be present? How do you manage stress better? How do you recover from setbacks? That resilience that needs to come through, particularly in complexity. And then finally, our Owning It chapter, which is all around how do you set goals? How do you stay on track? When things don't go to plan, how do you reprioritize? And again, some of those modern ways of delivery, particularly from an agile way of working. So there are focus areas. That's where we start with most cohorts. As you can see, it's pretty broad. And, we go where the clients want us to go. So now for a little bit of audience participation. We always love that sort of thing. So what I wanted to ask was, and please use the chat. Sachin's manning the chat, so he'll give us some feedback on what people are saying. But just for you, and put it in the chat, or more than happy for you to vocalize it, but which human skill area do you think is most critical for success at work? Which human skill area do you think is most critical for success at work? I will go back up to the previous slide. Which human skill do you think is most critical for success at work? I'm seeing some things go into the chat. Very exciting.
So
What are we seeing, Sach?
So, okay, so I put in communication, but Chaya put in self-awareness. Shrishti also said self-awareness. Jaydeep said owning it. That's pretty good. Natalie said working together. Sonam, self-awareness. Arshi, self-awareness. Jasmine, self-awareness. Diksha, self-awareness. I think self-awareness is actually a big deal here. Aditya said communication. AV said collaboration. Andrew said resilience. Mohammed said communication. Said communication and working together. Good on you, said. Muhammad Abdul Aziz said communication again.
So I think, thanks, that's awesome. And I wondered whether there would be one or two brave people that might share with us why they chose their human skill focus area. Is there anyone that's brave enough to share their thoughts with us? Anyone? I know there's got to be people online that are brave enough.
Yes, so Chaya actually. Yeah.
Thanks, Chaya. Go ahead.
Hi, it's my first time listening to this, and in no particular order, but I feel that if somebody in a leadership position is aware of their own strengths and where it works, where it doesn't work, how does the team perceive me as a leader? That becomes very important. And the rest of it kind of will fall in place. Yes, communication goes hand in hand with self-awareness, creativity, working together, owning it. These things can be taught. These are skills that can actually be taught. Self-awareness, yes, it can be taught, but there's a lot that comes from within. And so when we look at emotional quotient or whichever scientific term we want to use here, I think if I am aware of what I am good at and what I can, on the areas that I can work on, then I think the rest of the human skill areas can become a little easier.
I love that, Jo. You're spot on. And interestingly, so when we did our research that I mentioned before, where we got the sentiment from leaders on what was important to them, they reported twice more than any one of the others that self-awareness was really critical to them and that they felt that it was missing. And when it wasn't missing in their workplace, things just worked really well and teams work better together. And I think one of the things that, a couple of things that I wanted to, and thank you so much for speaking up, I really appreciate it. Firstly, we like to believe that we're in business for leaders, but more importantly for individual contributors, because, we always talk about, and, I've got 30 years in corporate where, leading lots of people, hundreds of people at work. If people peer-to-peer are self-aware and do all of these things peer-to-peer, once they get to becoming a leader, they just know intuitively what needs to get done and how to operate a whole lot better. And when you can get the peer-to-peer relationships working really well, that's actually fundamentally every single day what makes or breaks productivity outcomes. Because, there's always a very small number of leaders in an organization and a lot of individual contributors. And if you can get the individual contributors to fire and to turn up with all of these things upskilled, an organization just ends up working much, much better. So I think it's about how do you get the leaders there, but also how do you get the people there as well, the individual contributors, and how do you get them there really quick to competence and to confidence. Anyone else want to say anything before we move on? No? Well, thank you so much, Chad. Thank you so much for your participation, and we will keep going. So really importantly, as part of our programs, one of the most important things and really underpinning self-awareness and reflection, which are, two things that we anchor to a lot in our programs, is this concept of reporting, engagement, insights, what's happening. And so really importantly, not only do you learn and get outcomes through our learning experience, but we also share a healthy amount of reporting with the individual on how they're going and, what they've sort of got out of the program that we've run with them, what their sentiment is. And then we also share that reporting with the organizations that have brought us in. So, if we're working with one of our clients and we might have a really large cohort that's going through a program, we run cohorts of up to about 100, 110 at a time. And so we will, report to that organization on how the cohort's going, completion rate, sentiment, et cetera, et cetera. So, engagement via reporting, insight, and transparency is super important to us. So we've built it as a primary part of our experience. Really importantly, and just sort of, you can't meet Maxme without knowing who we play with. We've got 4 primary key segments. First and foremost, we work with organizations. So we definitely provide, I guess, what we would call, B2B programs, and we're having a lot of success with organizations and cohorts from within organizations. We also engage with tertiary and secondary school institutions. As I mentioned to you, we've done some work with a couple of universities in Australia, but really proudly, we're working with schools, excuse me, and particularly Year 10 students in schools in Australia. And we're giving them a real deep dive on the working world and what it looks like to have these human skills, creativity, and working well together, healthy working relationships. How does the working world work? Because we're finding that it's really shifting their thinking about the things that are important and the things that they need, in addition to everything that they're doing through the school curriculum system. We also are looking to work. This is an evolving area for us with immigrants and international students, because we know that people who move from their home country to other places where there's, nuances and different ways of working, we know that these human skills also help people to just land and be successful. So, this is an emerging market for us, but we're getting quite a lot of interest from various groups around this. And then finally, in the longevity space. So we're really thinking about, you know, early childhood, parent-children relationships, particularly around the conversation of positive psychology and, you know, creativity and you know, strengths and those sorts of things, self-awareness. You know, this is an area that we're double tapping on, and also around mature workers. What does it look like, you know, to sort of keep them within the ecosystem and giving us back their nourishment and their IP. We don't want them to leave because they've got so much that they leave with. So we're working in that space as well in terms of human skills and upskilling. And, you know, I just wanted to share some participant feedback with you. There's nothing more powerful than the words of the people that are going through our programs. And as you can see, you know, people show gratitude. A lot of people are not getting a lot of upskilling. You know, they don't feel like there's, you know, enough care and learning being shared with them, opportunities to sort of, you know, I guess get the skills that they need to continue to, you know, move along and advance in their careers. And when they're getting it, they're pretty grateful. So, you know, they're learning a lot about themselves. They're going through this sort of, you know, learning journey as it's being discovered. And, you know, we get a lot of feedback around, hey, I never really understood that these things were important. It's come just at the right time. And I totally get that I have to keep going, right? I'm not there yet. I'm not fully, you know, made. So I have to keep going. And, you know, some other feedback that we got, you know, from another participant is really around this concept of thank you so much for like just helping me with the language of strengths and weaknesses and who am I? And, you know, it's kind of, you know, awoken something in me. You know, first and foremost, just kind of that awareness, and then the so what and the now what. And, you know, that sort of energy boost, that higher confidence. I'm kind of ready to attack what I have to do in a much better fashion. So there's nothing more humbling and more powerful than receiving this sort of feedback, because that's why we're in the market. Remember, we want to give the skills to those career dreamers, those, you know, movers, those beginners. We're really, really keen to change their career trajectory, and in a quantum, just change culture and I guess productivity in workplaces. And, you know, just around a broader set of benefits that are being reported, certainly deeper connections, improved relationships. As I said, in the, you know, AI complex world that we're going to continue to live in, to be able to problem solve and innovate in complex situations will require working with others, working, you know, connecting, seeing things from multiple perspectives, being in healthy working relationships, high-performing teams. And so we're able to bring that to bear to the groups that we work with. Certainly, how do I maximize work performance through some of our owning it type of modules, that innovation, the goal setting, all of that kind of stuff. That reconnection to purpose really is really important. We know when we see the research globally that there's quite a lot of what's being described as languishing and disconnection. Why am I here? What's my purpose? What are my values versus the values of the organization, and how are we deeply connected? Because we know when that happens, when you can awaken connection to purpose, that motivation kicks in and people are willing to give discretionary effort. And so it's really important to, you know, bring that back into when times get tough. I'm still willing to dig deep because I believe in what I'm doing. I've got that connection to purpose. I understand what the organization's purpose is, and I can do this. I'm going to do this. And then finally, and importantly, one thing that we like to, you know, impart when we, you know, do our Maxme or Meet Maxme programs is that we are fully flexible. You know, we bring to bear around 200 plus years of corporate experience into the Maxme products that have been, you know, delivered into the market. And we've brought the research, science and lived experience together. What's really important for us, though, and the first learning out of the world that we all came from, because we come from that world, is the minute you're too rigid, you're not helpful for most organizations, because they've got their own unique issues, challenges, and they want to, you know, they want to kind of attack things in ways that make sense for them. So we have created a fully flexible we've got flexible tech, we've got flexible content, and we've tried to do the thinking for most organizations by curating, deeply curating this experience, making it gamified and fun, so that we can bring your cohorts and people to their competence quickly and confidently. That is super important for us. The last thing we want to do is make it harder. So one mistake is, where's my glass of water? Anyway, so it's really important for us to be able to bring that to bear for our clients. And I just wanted to share some results, just at a glance, from the clients that we work with, and we measure, as I said to you, we measure right at the start, we measure at the end. It's super important. I just wanted to bring you some of the, I guess, how we're shifting the needle with clients. This is an amalgam of some of the data that we've seen. We definitely, have numbers that we connect with at the start and at the end. And these are the sorts of shifts that we're seeing, with participants. And of course, as the participants then, within groups, that form important parts of organizations and what they're trying to achieve. So again, we just wanted to give you a sense of the areas that we're providing upskilling in, and how those areas are providing shifts for our participants. I wanted to I guess, before I open for questions, I wanted to leave you with this quote, which I thought I was sort of really touched by. It kind of really resonated with me. And that is, for Industry 4.0, the AI age, call it whatever you will, leaders need to possess a number of skills. The age of technical skills will get you through. We're very rapidly progressing to that no longer being really that relevant. And whilst we'll never get rid of the need for those technical skills, the things that are repeatable, the things that are transactional, AI is going to, it will take those jobs. Automation, robotics, AI. But really importantly, there is an interplay between what people are going to do and what these advanced technologies are going to do for us and do for humanity, because there's going to be a lot of great things that come of it. So really importantly for organizations, once they get beyond okay, this is a really exciting time, bordering, as I said to you, in some cases, it's sort of a bit of a mania about it at the moment. It's really important around business leaders to take the time, rather than knee-jerk jumping to, how are we going to bring our people into the solution? What can we do with our people who actually understand our business, who have been loyal to us, who, they're a fundamental part of the way that we operate. Without them, we wouldn't be. How do we bring them into the digital age, into the AI age? How do we upskill them and make them part of helping us be successful? Really importantly, it's important to understand those technical and human skills. And I bolded across the enterprise for a reason. Again, doubling down on the comment I made before, it's not enough to just train the leaders. If you just train 4, 5, 6% of your workforce and then expect them to, somehow magically, make everybody else more upskilled, it's just not going to happen. And I think that, as someone who's got deep experience in that world, it's an equation that very, very, very rarely comes to fruition. Everybody needs upskilling. The entire enterprise and organization needs to understand what skills they need and needs that upskilling. If we can rise to that occasion, if we can nail that, I really feel like for organizations, the sky's the limit. And I think Janet from Deloitte Consulting agrees with me. All right, question time. Any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And, we are almost at time for those that have to leave us at the 5:45 mark, but I'm more than happy to sort of stay on and answer any questions that you might have. But any questions from anyone or comments? We're really always interested in comments, insights. It would be great to hear from you guys. Please feel free to put it in the chat if you don't want to speak up. comments or questions?
Then if I may ask from you, what, knowing what you know from, with your experience of having worked with India in your previous roles and now launching launching Maxme into the Indian market, I would love to know what were the hard hitters, like what was your why? What were the things that you could see of this is why I believe Maxme is so much needed, and some of the, the strength gaps that you saw. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about that.
Thanks for the question, Jazz. Look, I think prior to launching Maxme in India, I actually had a lot of deep subject matter expertise and experience working with Indian companies. So I've been a technologist for pretty much my whole career, and I've worked with all of the majors in India. I've had teams offshore. I've actually worked with, Indian nationals. And for me, there were things that really stood out in terms of, deep subject matter expertise, very skilled, really professional. And this is, of course, with people that I'd worked with from India. And, lots of degrees, lots of study, open to, advancing themselves, open to learning. But like many others, not just in people from India, but around the globe, missing some of these softer skills, the ability to connect, communicate, influence, have difficult conversations, some of that creative problem solving, a little bit of that empathy, some of the things that are going to be critically required for the age of AI. I just probably saw a gap. And again, I want to stress it's not a gap that just exists in people from India. It's a gap that exists worldwide. But I'm very passionate about the Indian market, about coming to India. Obviously India is rapidly growing. It's assuming its rightful place, in the globe. And it's a very exciting, dynamic place. But there are still, if we think about India skilling the rest of the world, which absolutely will happen, there'll be people moving around, moving into new countries. There'll be people working across the divide in a sort of follow the sun model. It's no good if people can't work together across culture and with these skills, right? These are the skills that make or break work impact, outcomes, fast, rapid, iteration of things. They're needed and they're not taught. And so I think that with India needing to skill the rest of the world, we need to quickly teach people from India these skills so that they can be firing on all cylinders and as productive and impactful as they can be, so that, the outcomes that they will bring to the workplaces that they work in will be, extremely exciting. And we want to be a part of that. We're trying to drive global impact. I can't think of a more exciting place to do it in than India. And certainly in the conversations that we're having with clients, we have clients that deeply agree and are very excited about this upskilling and what it will bring to their workplaces. Because I guess they're still thinking about and engaging in more traditional learning experiences. They know that they're not scalable. They know that they need to retrain their staff and quickly with these skills, particularly for the age of AI, and they can't do it with their current learning methods. Traditional, off the tools, in a room, too expensive, not scalable, fully self-paced Coursera license, not making any impact. And so they know that they need something that's in the middle, and we definitely bring that to the market. So that's why we're super excited about being in India. And, we have other places at the moment. The Philippines is definitely emerging as another place that is interested and in need of what we've got. But India, we've arrived and we're not planning on going anywhere. Hopefully that's helped.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think, I can say this, but coming from understanding that culture well, today I was speaking to someone and they mentioned about how sometimes it is hard culturally for managers in India or senior managers to be able to give the bad news, and sometimes that's just one small example. And I think some of the people here in the room might find that with their teams, and how do you have those, conversations? So I think it really makes a lot of sense.
Very timely, Jasmine. You must have been reading our emails, although you couldn't have been. So we've just had a client confirm we're running a big program of work for them around giving and receiving feedback, and really, really importantly, feedback. For it to be successful, it's actually not about what you're saying. I mean, obviously what you're saying is important, but there are about 5 steps before that. There's about creating the right environment, the psychological safety, how are you communicating the feedback? And you need to be able to be balanced when you're communicating feedback. Really importantly, the research will say you have to communicate 5 good things to every 1 opportunity for improvement when you're building trust with people. Now, are we doing that? Are we showing gratitude? Are we saying thank you? Are we noticing when people are doing great things, or are we just leaving the bad news conversations and nothing else? And there's a vacuum around everything else. So if as a leader or a peer, I might add, because peers have to give each other feedback as well, if the only message you're ever delivering to somebody else is one of improvement, I can tell you what's going to happen in that relationship, and it's not going to go very far. The person's going to be defensive and trust will not be built. So we are absolutely just in the throes of finalizing the plans for running that workshop with one of our clients here in India, I should say. Any other comments, questions? Sach, is there anything in the chat?
No, Ren. I think we don't have any questions.
Great. Any final thoughts from anyone?
Yeah. Thank you, Ren, for today's session. I think it was a good general topic we discussed, and good to go ahead, now to get more deeper into things. And I really look forward to other upcoming trainings with you.
Thank you, Sonam. Really appreciate you joining. Thank you very much. Anyone
Same
else?
here. I would just like to add, this is Diksha here, and thanks for the wonderful presentation. And I had also gone through your website to look at some of the leadership level programs that you'll have. I would be connecting with Sachin to know more and just take it from there. In fact, I have been looking at a few offerings in the industry, and Maxme was bang on with regards to what I was looking for. So I would really like to discuss this in detail with Sachin. But thank you for taking out time and taking us through this today. Yeah.
What can I say, Diksha? This is just very humbling to hear you speak about that way. I promise you, Diksha is not a ring-in. She literally, it's coming from the heart. Thank you so much for that feedback. I mean, for a company that's truly driven by driving impact, upskilling, we just want to create this goodness in the world around us. And, we're all from those corporate environments. We know what it feels like when, organizations are productive, teams are productive, and we just want to bring more of that into the world. So thank you so much. We look forward to speaking to you and hopefully getting a chance to work together.
Same here, same here.
Any final questions or thoughts?
Thanks so much, Ren, for a wonderful session. It was great, inspiring as usual. You're always full of energy, and looking forward to, be part of the Maxme India team soon. And with Sachin around next month, looking forward for a lot of business, and we've already started, exploring more options. And great session. Great
Thank
session.
you, and I love your kurta. Very nice kurta. Is that from Lucknow, that kurta?
Yeah. Yes, now for Delhi only. Ordered online. I'll even let you know. Thank you so much.
That Jasmine introduced me to the fine, beautiful sewing work from Lucknow. So I now have a discerning eye for these things as I look through.
Yeah, sure.
And you're half Indian anyway. So that's
Yes.
Hang on a second. I'm 75% Indian. Thank you.
And you have some nice collection of Lucknowi kurtis in your wardrobe now, thanks to our Delhi Heart visit.
That's very true, Jasmine. In fact, I'm not wearing my Delhi Heart earrings today, but yes, very fond memories of our shopping trip there together. So excellent. All right, if there's no further questions or comments, again, thank you so much for joining us. We've really enjoyed sharing Maxme with you. It's just the start. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. You'll find us at... I beg your pardon, sorry? No? Okay, well, you find us at hello@maxme.com.au. Look us up on our website, get in touch. We'd love to keep talking. So thank you very much for joining and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ren. You too.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank
you.
you so much.